Yeah, as a person, it's not even one, it's the biggest challenge I personally had in my life, because I started suffering from mental health problems and depression when I was 16, 15, 16 there. I started having mental health problems, and it carried on up to my early 20s. And it's because of the pain I went through and the confusion and the lack of resources and everything that mental health hits home. Because for me, I believe it's key and central to everything you do in life, to each and every single individual.
I get you. And I think we have to confront the causes, but also deal with maybe what we call early detection systems, and how to curb such signs when they are still young. Because like you said, it had emerged, but you couldn't access the resources that you need, right? I don't know from maybe a solution angle, what you suggest that can be done to ensure there is like early access to mental health resources for those that need them at a very young age.
I think the first thing we're going to begin with first things first. The first thing is to the sensitization. It's very critical, because a lot of people have mental health problems, but they don't even know that they have mental health problems.
This is the Policy Digest, a Center for Policy Analysis podcast that explores how African societies are governed and how people and their leaders are shaping the future of their communities. Through candid conversations and insightful analysis, we aim to provide a deeper understanding of the political, economic, and social landscape of Africa. So sit back, relax, and get ready to explore the diverse and dynamic world of African governance.
Welcome to the Policy Digest. My name is Joseph, the host of the podcast. Today we are going to speak about a pandemic that has ravaged the world for decades. But that pandemic has come to the light mostly after the COVID-19 pandemic. And I wanted to just start with data on that specific pandemic, and probably as I do so, you'll understand where we're going with this. A recent study by the Makerere School of Public Health indicates that 14 million out of a population of 43.7, the stats by then, or about 32%, of those who were surveyed were suffering from mental illness. That's as of 2022. Now, that specific data also shows that only 53 psychiatrists are in Uganda nationwide. And that points us to one psychiatrist for every million people. You can imagine. Now, the data still shows us that the prevalence of major depressive disorders is at 19.3, and that the lifetime prevalence of mental health in that very population that they surveyed was at 23.3%. Now they proceed to make the argument that suicide has been growing at a sporadic rate. And if I should quote the statistics still that came out of that report, they show that approximately 19 out of 100,000 people in Uganda are taking their lives, ranking 17th globally and 4th in Africa for suicide as a cause of death. And once you look at that data still from the Makerere School of Public Health, it shows that young people are the most affected by issues to do with mental health, with the age group that is highlighted by that report being 15 to 29, with over 400 cases recorded just in that year in which that survey was done. And maybe lastly, before we can get the crux of the conversation, the data still shows that there is a gender disparity with regards to people that are affected by mental health and subsequently those that choose to end their life by suicide, showing that men are disproportionately being the people that are leading the charts with regards to this. So in order for us to dissect this pandemic that is so ravaging the societies of Africa, we are joined by the Queen of Bugerere, and her name is Ruth Michelle who is a Miss Tourism of Bugerere and second runner-up Miss Tourism Buganda Kingdom. And what do they call people who are like OGs at campus?
OGs and OBs, alumni.
Alumni, yes.
Yeah.
Michelle and I share a class. Michelle, you're most welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Joseph, for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here.
We are happy about the good work you are doing with the Miss Tourism community.
Thank you very much.
Tell us, how did you come to get the crown, and how do you find yourself in the advocacy you are doing now in things to do with mental health?
Oh, how I got to... You want the journey on how I joined the crown? I'm going to try to narrow it a bit. I joined the pageant. Interestingly, it's my mom that prompted me to join. My mom is a powerhouse. So my mom called me and she told me about the opportunity of joining the pageant. And then she was very sure I was going to win. And true to the fact, I did win. She was right. So moms are always right.
But like, she was just there. She was like, Michelle,
yeah, this opportunity.
we're doing this.
Yeah, this opportunity has come up. I want you to join. I know you are able to do it. So I joined the pageant and it changed everything.
Wow, your mom is so confident in you.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I get you. So I know that almost, I think, whether it's Miss Uganda or whether it's Miss World, normally queens or programs of such nature, they want to link good talent to social causes.
Yeah.
And the cause that you had chosen was mental health. Why of all causes did you say, I'm going to focus my advocacy as a tourism queen
on mental health?
Yeah.
As a person, it's not even one, it's the biggest challenge I personally had in my life, because I started suffering from mental health problems and depression when I was 16 there. I started having mental health problems and it carried on up to my early 20s. And it's because of the pain I went through and the confusion and the lack of resources and everything that mental health hits home. Because for me, I believe it's key and central to everything you do in life, to each and every single individual. Because even in camp, when they asked us about the themes and the things we want to talk about, I still went with mental health. Because for me, it's not just like advocacy work, it's something that really hits home. And I know if I had probably gotten the help I needed earlier, I wouldn't have been in the drought of depression for too long, and I wouldn't have lost many of my years due to depression and the suicidal thoughts that plagued me at the time. So that is the reason why I use the platform to amplify the graveness and the magnitude of the problem at hand, though most people don't even know that we really have a big problem at hand right now.
They don't. Take us back to 16 years. How did you even notice that a problem had arisen?
I think.
What did you realize later?
How did I realize that?
Yeah.
I think someone recently told me I pay a lot of attention to myself. Like, not only as a person, I love studying, be it reading and research and everything.
Oh yes,
and,
Michelle, you're a library.
Yeah, you told me that I'm a moving library.
Holy
Yes.
Goodness, yes.
So just like you tell me I'm a moving library, I love researching and paying attention to things and phenomenon. So I also study myself as a person. So one of the things, because around 16 it's 15 there, 16 in 2016.
Must have been like senior 5, I think.
It's senior 5, 2015, yeah. 2015, when I started noticing like a change in my moods and everything, how I used to do things, how I used to even experience the world. Because ever since I came here a jolly person, that's what I always tell people. I came in the world jolly. Ever since I was a kid, I was a very, very jolly person. I was very talkative, but slowly by slowly, my mood started changing and I took a totally different turn. Even my parents noticed it. I could no longer talk. I was very, very quiet. And the way I used to experience the world, even my studies, everything was now different. And my grades suffered very bad. For the first time, I think, in my life, one time the teacher brought back papers and I was among the worst. It was a very, very horrible situation. I had never, ever encountered that the whole of my life. So things were really, really wrong. And because I love to know and I love reading, I started reading about like the symptoms, how I'm feeling. And I started talking a lot about death. I have some friend of mine, he's called Hamala. I don't know. Hamala put up a lot with me because I used to just go to him and then talk about how I fancy dying, how death is very attractive, how I'll just die and everything ends, how probably one day the sun is going to rise and I'll be so dead. Like, it was so wrong because a young person is not even supposed to think of such things. And I only told
you're young, you're full of life. Most of your life is ahead of you.
Yeah. At that time, I used to not even, I used to tell him, I wish I could kill myself. I wish I would die. But the thing that deterred me to even move on with the suicidal thoughts was the beliefs that they had taught us at home. So that is the reason as to why I chose the advocacy in mental health, because I know a lot of people out there are suffering. And just like me, because when I used to tell people I have depression, I'm suffering from depression, people used not to understand what on earth is depression. And they used to sometimes allude me to having a weak mind. And no one, I'm telling you, no one administered the help that I needed. So I believe there are a lot of people like me out there who probably don't have the resilience and the capacity or the resources to read and invest in trying to save themselves from the plague that really need the hand and help.
It's and I think you make quite an analysis there, that you analyzed that your personality had taken a 360.
Yeah.
That your personality does not take a 360 out of the blue, unless Jesus has entered your life.
And he also takes you in
drinking
bits.
And then you stop drinking. But where, like,
something just turns.
It turns you start to see the red flags, right? Okay, so you then realize that there's a problem, right?
Yeah.
And was that like at 18? Was it at 19? Was it at 20? Was it at 21? And when you realize there's a problem, what steps do you take there? Or do you... I don't. I just want to figure out what happens between realization and then knowing I need to do something about it.
So, like the time I was depressed. I think I took interest in trying to find how I can fix myself, because I got to know, okay, I cannot choose the option of death.
Oh yeah. Because
in my head I was like, I strongly believe in the Bible. I was like, no, because someone told me when I was young, the moment you commit suicide, it's like a gateway, the easiest ticket to hell. So I was like, no, I'm not going to choose that by virtue of my beliefs. So I was like, I have to find a way to fix myself and make sure I'm fine. That is how I venture into the research and reading of mental health therapy and all those things. That is how I get onto the road of what? Of becoming better and also healing. And then the other thing I realized, because yes, I was a Christian, I grew up from a Christian background and a Christian home. I hadn't taken my faith central to like really central and integral in my life. That is when I make the U-turn, because I realized for me to be able to even withstand the changes that are going to come with me trying to fix myself, I need to be grounded by something supreme and higher than me, and that was God.
Okay, I get that. But now that we know your experiences and what inspired you, as you made the research, you must have discovered, like what I'm going through now is an actual mental health issue. So maybe to get to the definition of it, because some people, I think they misconstruct it to be this or the other, or maybe they misconstruct it to be the consequence of mental health. So what is mental health exactly for the person who just wants to know what mental health is? Yeah. I think mental health overall, because someone can can have good mental health or bad mental health. It's basically I'm going to say it in like a basic term for even the layman to understand, the basic state of your mind as a person. So most times, because the basic state of your mind is going to determine each and every single thing around you, how you're going to experience the people around you, how you're going to experience the world. And the time you have to realize you really have a problem, if your mind is easily leaning to the negative. Because of course things happen, but when someone is in a place of a mental health crisis, even the smallest crisis becomes magnified, because your body is already overwhelmed and your mind is too overwhelmed. So everything comes in doses that your mind cannot comprehend. And the causes of that are a little bit different, because when I researched, I got to understand. Sometimes the depression
shows up at probably the age of 16 or 15, but the underlying causes happened when you are still a child. So this comes as a result of a lot of things being compiled that weren't processed, or situations and traumas that you went through that you didn't process. So that journey to depression is not like, because a lot of people meet me and they find
it just happened.
It's not like something you just woke up overnight and like, oh, I'm so depressed right now. No, it's like a journey, just like almost everything in life. These are steps that you take, and sometimes you don't even know till you find yourself in a very, very dark place that is so hard to get out of. Yeah.
So it keeps how do I call it? This resilience of your soul or your heart keeps...
It keeps on diminishing without you noticing. Then when you reach, I always, let's put it in the analogy of a glass. When the glass is being filled with water, even though it's like drops, the drops can keep on filling and filling. But the drop, there is only one drop that will fall and the glass is going to start spilling over. So it's the same thing with the depression. Your body can contain up to when it hits ground and it's like, I can no longer contain this, then it starts spilling over. So that is a very thing with depression, because it's always a symptom of something way grave and that has been happening for a long time than the present.
Yeah, and I think in the definition you seem to say there's good and bad.
Mental health.
Right?
Yes.
Let's first engage the good.
The good mental health.
It looks like there are things you do that also gradually increase the strength
of your mind.
To stand against stress, to withstand pressure, to even become the cup which, fills the other people.
Yeah.
What are some of those things that contribute to good mental health? Because I think most of the conversation, mental health, is mostly about avoid this, you will not get bad mental health. What are some of those good things that strengthen the soul?
I think one of the central things that is slowly going out of our society and systems is the connectivity with people. That is like very key and integral to good mental health. Because just like the famous saying goes, man is not an island. And even God himself said it's bad. It's not good for man to be alone. There is the key importance of real connectivity in life. That is why we are having
You are shaking tables when you say man should not be alone.
Oh. Okay, I mean it in the biblical. Okay, people should not be alone. Sorry for someone who had misquoted me.
Jokes aside, you can continue.
Yeah, I understand. I know. I know the environment.
Either way, I don't think man should be alone, right?
Yeah, no one should be alone. That is something that we are slowly losing in our society, and that is one of the reasons. Even when you talk to experts, one of the central pillars to the epidemic of the mental health epidemic that we have, people just lack connectivity. People are so lonely that some governments are even appointing loneliness ministers. It is that bad. So one of the central things to good mental health is the importance of connectivity, because you really have to be connected to people. And not just this generic connection, but the real deep, meaningful connections. That is one of the ways you're going to even be able to circumnavigate even the bad things that happen. Because when you have a crowd or a village around you, things don't hit as hard as when you are a single person trying to fight the circumstances that are around you. Then the other thing that...
And maybe we'll go to the second thing, other things that have broken that communal engagement model that we need to fix as a society.
I think,
where are people growing more lonely than
before? I think one of the things, interestingly, one time I was seeing an article by The Economist, and after seeing that article, I started really thinking about it. They were saying one of the reasons, or the contributors of the mental health crisis or the loneliness or like epidemic in the USA was the housing system. You wouldn't think about it when they talk about mental health. But when you go back, let's go back to the traditional African society, how the housing used to be like. At first, it used to be like a single household with a father and then his sons build around. So they create like a compound of like different families all together. So by virtue of by everything possible, people are going to stay connected because you guys are always in each other's faces.
You can't avoid each other.
Yeah, you can't avoid each other.
You can't step out of the house
without seeing the neighbor across.
Sure.
Then when you go back to even the like years back, 10 years or 20 years back, you just recall how we grew up. Yes, we used to have like individual households, but then those households, the kids were free to move in and out, and the community system was still present.
These days they get you going to your neighbors.
You're finished. Because even
You're
the housing
done.
system, so someone has one child, and that one child, the parents are both working parents, so the child is left home with a house help and the maid at home. The child is alone. They don't even know the next door neighbor because of the gate system. The only time probably the child will get to try to interact with people is at school. And when you're at school, 89% or 90% of the time you guys are studying. You don't even have time for interaction. So then you go back home, the cycle continues. But the communal system we used to have back then, by virtue of the fact that you guys, the other neighbor is going to just cross over and randomly come on your veranda, then you're going to see neighborhood kids forming a group playing, you were forced to relate with people. And that used to build your resilience on even how to navigate different kind of people, different kind of characters and personalities. So the housing system, the individualizing of each and every single thing, that someone can be in their house and not need to even go out, at all.
We don't need each other enough.
You don't need each other the way that the communities were built earlier. And the other place that I saw that tried, I'm going to just shout out to them. It's the Solana Residence Community thing by NSSF. Because when you see the Solana residences, the way they were built, these communities, by virtue of how the amenities are built, people have to share certain amenities. So by all means, you will have to interact with people. Not have your own gym, not have your own everything, so that you're in your own world. You don't need is everything is fully contained, so you're not even interacting with people.
Cinema hall, the house has
a cinema, the pool, it has the gym, it has everything. So in some sort of way, by virtue that you have everything within your house, you're not going to be forced to move out. So the housing system is one of the contributors to the loneliness epidemic, though people don't even know that. Because you've gated yourself, you've gated your kids. How are they going to interact with people in the whole world? How are they going
to connect? Or if they have to connect, there's probably a very huge expense to the connection.
Yeah, it's a bit
expensive. Are there any factors that have contributed to that?
To the housing system?
Not the housing, the loneliness.
The loneliness epidemic. The other factors... The loneliness epidemic is a very interesting one. So I think the other factors that have also contributed to the loneliness epidemic are the social media as a whole. Because you can be with 20 people in a room, but each and every single person is in their own world, immersed in their phone, looking down. So by all means, people still are together, but not together, but not united. They
cannot connect.
They're just in the same room or the same environment. It's the same thing with families. You can find families, and basically, be it the husband and wife, or the father and the children, or the parents and the children, they have never really sat down to have a conversation. Because every time they're together, yes, they're on the dining table together, but then the phones are pulled out, and everyone is zoned out, immersed into their own world. So that is also, technology is also a contributor to that. A very, very chief contributor. Then I think the other thing that is also a contributor to that, the gender wars, and that those have also been amplified by the social media. Because right now, when you go to social media, we have femicels, incels, everyone is trying to pull away, and everyone wants to
build echo chambers for themselves.
And to win the war. Everyone is the prize. The men are the prize, the women are the prize. Everyone wants to prove that they are the prize. So that kind of tagging where everyone is pointing fingers, you're the problem. The other is no, you're the problem. So that is also adding to the magnitude and the gravity of the problem. The loneliness epidemic is a really, really complex situation, because with every country, the problem takes a different face.
I get you. And I think we have to confront the causes, but also deal with maybe what we call early detection systems, and how to curb such signs when they are still young. Because like you said, it had emerged, but you couldn't access the resources that you need, right? I don't know from maybe a solution angle, what you suggest that can be done to ensure there is early access to mental health resources for those that need them at a very young age.
I think the first thing we're going to begin with first things first. The first thing is to the sensitization. It's very critical. Because a lot of people have mental health problems, but they don't even know that they have mental health problems. You can talk with someone. Now, for me, because I've invested a lot of time to read personally.
Sure.
I can talk with someone and know this person has a problem. But now to prove to them that they have a problem is a totally different thing. It's a different quest which you may lose bitterly and even end up losing the friendship. So a lot of people don't even have the right information because you cannot solve a problem which you don't even know that you have. But if you're sensitized to even get to know that you're having a problem here, it is easy for you to even seek out the answers. So I think the first thing that we ought to do as a country or as a people, the whole world at large, is to provide much more sensitization and information about mental health because it's a big, big epidemic. Right now...
It looks like there's stigma around it. Even someone has the problem, but they can't admit
They can't even admit. Because I used to... Hollywood had even taken that route to bring out movies to show, especially the black people. Black people never want to accept that they have mental health problems. Because for them, they believe that they have been built with thick skin. They can take everything that comes.
The thick skin dogmas. I hear you.
For them... Like right now, you if you go to a really, really traditional parent, you cannot start explaining, oh, my God, mommy or daddy, I'm depressed. You're like, they'll beat you up. Like, what kind of nonsense is that you... Like, for us, we suffered. You know those stories they bring? We suffered. We went to the well. We went to this. We used to walk by foot to school. We did not get depressed. How come you're depressed? So there is that stigma.
Yeah, there's a comparative. I think it's common in motivational circles.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, people have gone to war. Now for you, you're suffering.
And now for you, you're having a
problem.
soft life and then you're suffering. They're forgetting that the kind of world that they navigated is so different from the one we are navigating right now. Because people are exposed to a myriad of things at an early age. And we are having information overload.
It's too much.
A lot of things that are coming up and everything is vying for your attention, and then a lot of comparisons, and then the FOMO, fear of missing out, and the peer pressure has never been, and the societal pressures have never been worse than they are right now. Because every time you go on social media, you're going to find someone probably your age who has things that a 50-year-old in our parents' age used to have. By 50. The person is worth
you're 19.
$2 billion. And then you're like, you've not even yet figured out your life. You don't know what you want. You don't even know the career. Am I even taking the right course at university? So the stakes are very high. So we ought to also take greater strides than the ones before.
It's real. And I think we need to interrogate the role of culture. And I don't know whether religion has a part to play in that, but the role of culture in entrenching a culture where people don't want to access help, right? And how we are able to deal with that. And this, in the second part of the podcast, I want us to look into such aspects. And since you are Miss Tourism Uganda, you maybe want to tell us how are you addressing those root causes of mental health in the African communities. Join us in the second part of the podcast.
Welcome to the Parliament Performance Tracker platform, a portal designed to empower Ugandan citizens with valuable insights into their Parliament's performance and financial landscape. Some of the key highlights of this platform include the Parliament Legislators Report Card. Here, you find comprehensive information on the members of the Ugandan Parliament, from contact details and their biographies to their legislative performance, including bills sponsored, bill participation, term count, and the number of parliamentary committees they sit on. This section provides a transparent view on each legislator's contributions and activities. The Finance Tracker. This consists of two powerful tools, the Budget Tracker and the Debt Tracker. The Budget Tracker displays the current budget allocations of Uganda, allowing you to track how public resources are distributed across various sectors. But that's not all. There is also the Budget Simulator tool, enabling you to actively participate in the budgeting process by simulating your preferred resource allocations. While the Debt Tracker provides insights into Uganda's national debt standing, you discover key metrics such as the debt per citizen, GDP per capita, and per capita income, along with the sources of these loans. Stay informed about Uganda's financial health and the implications for future generations. Insights. This is a platform where you can gain valuable knowledge about Parliament-related topics. Simply enter your queries and our system will fetch relevant articles and also provide AI-generated summaries, offering you a deeper understanding of the issues that matter to you. With its comprehensive tools, staying informed about Uganda's parliament and financial landscape has never been easier. Whether you're curious about your representative's performance, want to understand their budget allocations, or seek insights on parliament-related topics, this platform has you covered. Empower yourself with data and take an active role in shaping Uganda's future. Parliament Watch. Your eye on Parliament.
We'll be back. So let's deal with the cultural issues that exacerbate or perpetuate a lack of access to mental health help that people actually need. Let me first quote some data. And this data is gendered, right? So it has been reported that mental health disproportionately affects the male gender. More than
the women.
It affects females. From your research, do you see any patterns we need to deconstruct with how, let's say, men are raised, and because the same data shows you that men kill themselves more than women.
Yeah.
Disproportionately. Do you see a link and something we need to do about that?
Yeah, I think just like the data shows, it's evident that it's the men that are majorly affected with the mental health problems. And I think partly is because of how society, from the very beginning, from the grassroots, brings up the male child. Because since we are kids, there's a different expectation of the boys. I think when some of you recall, even when you used to cry, the parents used to say, jaguma, you know, that kind of thing. So in essence, we're trying to show these men that it's not allowed and it's not acceptable in society for you to even feel certain emotions or to show that you feel certain emotions. So the weight and the expectation on the male child is a little bit heavier than the women. And then interestingly, that because of that, the connectivity even the men have, even with us women, because we have suffered in the end, both sides. The men have suffered and also the women have suffered. The kind of connection we seek, even when we are relating with them, isn't the kind of connection we get from them. Because we have, from a young age, they have been deconstructed or constructed a certain way to feel or behave a certain way. That even when they are going through a crisis, it is so hard for a man to come and tell you, I'm really going through a hard time. Because our society, especially African society, is going to show that is a weak man. A man is not supposed to complain. A man is not supposed to cry. A man is not even supposed to express his emotions. Even, you can even see on barriers, when a man cries, you're like, but the man cried. I think he has been in a lot of pain. By the time he cried, that is how bad it really is. That even when he cries on a barrier, we even go back home talking about it. It's new because we did not create a safe space where men can really be men, but also have their feelings accommodated too. So that is a different expectation to the boy child. It puts a lot of pressure on him, where if he fails, he has no one to even tell, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm going through. But then we still expect him to make sure he doesn't fail. Even when he's going through a bad situation, he has to magically heal himself, which is different on the women. Because for us, we are expected to show our emotions. You go through a bad time, you end up crying. And everyone is like, oh my God, she's really going through a hard time. We are even more open to talking because that is how we have been brought up. I'm going to call my mom. I'm just going to have a random bad day or meet a rude person and go home, call my mom. I met some really rude guy. Do you know that the guy said this and this?
I mean, calling my mom that I met a rude person.
You're like, Joseph, man up. Like, even when something hurts you, we don't have that kind of space. So for me, I kind of believe society has also contributed to that.
Sure.
There's a toxic kind of masculinity we expect from the men. And that masculinity has proved to be like a murderer to our men. And then we hand them a toxic masculinity and expect them to give us a better breed of men who cannot feel, who are sure that even when you're feeling something, you're supposed to suppress it. So men have a lot of suppressed emotions. One time I was reading an article and I watched some interview of she's a therapist, she's called Dr. Anita Phillips, where she was saying even generally when you're to look, if you're looking for those emotions that show mental health problems like anger, sadness, and and stuff, you're going to find that men are more angry. Like, we have a generation of angry men. Men are angry. You talk to a man and he's basically just angry. He's angry at the situation. He's angry at the government. He's angry at his father. He's angry at everyone he encounters.
He's angry at everything. He's angry at himself.
He's angry at
work.
like himself. He's angry at the wife, the children, and everything. The reason why men always resort to anger, because it's the only kind of emotion that we kind of let them. It's kind of a little bit masculine more than being the sad kind of man.
And
so they turn the pain,
yeah.
the integral pain that they are feeling from the inside, it becomes like a certain kind of wrath and furiousness. So I believe as a society, that especially African society, the kind of expectation we have for the man is a little bit, how do they call it? It's not right.
A man should succeed at all costs. You either succeed or succeed. And you're supposed to succeed without showing any emotions. You have to have joy and you have to have everything kept together till you succeed. Even when you've succeeded, everything has to be put together till you die. That is not sustainable for a human being, because human beings are complex. Because I think women have a different way they handle such situations.
We have different ways.
It's normal for you to break down.
I can break down on a street and everyone is going to sympathize. Oh, the woman. But let a man break down. Look at that man. That man has a problem. No one is going to lend a hand and come to know. Like, by the time a man cries, what is the problem? What has pushed him to that degree? The response on both scenarios is a little bit different. And that response is not just in that simple crying on the street. It flows down and trickles down to all other areas of life. And everything, be it workplaces and stuff, the expectations they have for the men are different from the women. So hence the toxic masculinity in the African society. And the expectations are just so crazy for the men.
Yeah, and I think they are too much. And
the other thing we have that I also believe is also inherent to the mental health problems with men, we have taught them to associate their worth to material possessions. Like, a man's worth is the things he owns and the things, all the people he has command over, or the kind of respect he can command in society. Minus those things, he's not anybody. He's not worthy of respect. He's not worthy to be listened to. He's not worthy to even be honored in his own family. The parents are not going to need to hear from him. You understand? So the expectation...
Well, a woman has value by just being a woman,
intrinsic value by
right?
just being her. The fact that she's going to come and greet people, that is already enough.
But you people have... The females, you're the ones who create that. Most women, you don't value men beyond what they put on the table.
But I think that the kind of conversation is, we are not going to blame both the female and the men, because we all just came to be a part of a society that was built on such bedrocks, where that is the expectation of the man, and that is what they tell us to expect from the man.
Fine. Society is a problem, but they're the one who does the action. Do you think that the expectations that, because let's say men tend to want to create value in order to get this level of respect, and the value they create is in order to have some form of value, especially towards
the women.
Towards the women. Do you think women are contributing to this in any way? Please don't dodge the question and say the society.
I think I'm going to still answer it. No, it's not the ancestors. No, that question has two sides of answers. I hope you let me answer it.
I really have no problem.
So there is the societal expectations, but the societal expectations, interestingly, also come from the evolutional kind of view.
Okay.
That is where most of the things, even the things we have right now as norms of society, were built from the evolution kind of mindset. Because even psychologists say it. The expectations, or the way I react as a woman, that is why they say women are people who always pay attention to detail, or we are people who can easily multitask. But where it comes from, it also comes from the evolution kind of point of view. Because we are the caretakers, we have to do a lot of things at the same time, and we have to make sure all those things are balanced. So for the male kind of view, because in the evolution, the early man kind of setting, the men were hunters. And the women used to stay at home. And the more resources a man had, because when a man had more resources, he had more power, he had more security, he had more respect in society. So evolutionally, when you become espoused to such a man, You are more set to be protected, you as a person, your own life. You're going to have security of being fed. That is how the psychologists explain it. So all these things are bedrocks of society. People started getting to know, okay, in order for a woman to probably be quote unquote set in life according to the traditional norms, this is the kind of man she's supposed to get. And that is the very thing they push to the men in order for you, because evolution wise, the more resources you had, the more access you had to like more women, and the more you're going to be able to reproduce and have more offspring. So it is like an evolution kind of point of view. But right now we have reached a point where we are no longer in the hunting systems, but the mind is still as ancient as that. And yes, the mind is as ancient as that, but then society and people keep on perpetuating the cycles, because a lot of things have changed when we choose to change those things. But the cycles are being perpetuated, especially in the traditional form of society. I believe not everything about tradition is bad, because when we throw out everything, we are going to throw out the baby and the bathwater. You know that you just get the baby plus the bathwater, like get out. But I think we have reached a point where we have to question everything and put everything on table to see how is this working out for each and every single person, and how is it affecting, and how are we navigating this for the better. So that is how I believe with the traditional values, because we cannot bring everything back and we cannot throw everything away. We have to sit on table and like, okay, this is what tradition expected of the men. So far, what breed of men has it produced, and how has it affected the men? How can we change that? How has tradition contributed to the kind of mindset women have towards men and the expectations that they put towards the men? And how can we change that for the goodness of the men and also the goodness of the women? That is how I believe we can navigate that question of the traditions. I get you. And I think those two contexts are good. Let's run like a thought experiment. So you're in a home. The woman has evolved, has not evolved. She still either because I think there are many regions which still prescribe the man to be the head, to be not just the head, the source of provision, source of provision. So let's say you have 6 children. The man is supposed to construct the house or pay the rent, pay the school fees, right? What else? And everything else in a home, right? Yeah, and he's also supposed to keep himself together for decades and decades. And how is such a man supposed to live and maintain their mental health? I think for that sort of like narrative, the first thing, such a kind of man, because he's already in that situation, and probably we are assuming there is no way out of that situation. I think the first thing he ought to do is to create avenues of like to get a safe space outside of his home where he can express his emotions. Probably a good male friend that also understands the gravity of the situation, because it's more understanding when you talk to someone in the very kind of same situation that you are. Then also in the theoretical kind of, if I could go to the woman, in case there's nothing she can do to like totally be, but that is also not I also don't 100% believe in that. I don't know, I'm a little betwixt between that, because the kind of woman now, that is something people always pull out when they're talking about the traditional woman. The kind of woman they always put out is a Proverbs 31 woman. But I don't know, I think we probably read a different kind of Proverbs 31 woman. The Proverbs 31 woman had something already going on for herself as a person. Yes. Like she was a boss in her own right. So I believe even though we are to go to the traditional route, yes, the man is going to still be like the biggest provider, but the woman also has a certain integral part she plays. And in case you're not providing that, because the mental health issue is not just the financials, because some people are too, like, they have probably a very, very good job, the financials are well sorted.
Yeah,
they wouldn't mind you being at home. So the problem is not even just the provision. That is not the biggest problem. The problem is a kind of environment that you as a woman have created for your man. Okay, he has come back home from work. Can you create an environment that is safe for him to be able to flourish emotionally as a man? I think that is the most integral part, because when you do that part, for him going out to provide for the family is not going to be as complex as it has been without. He's doing the provision as well, but then he's also not having the emotional safety and the safety net that he needs from the woes and the problems and tribulations of the world. So I believe the issue is to majorly create an emotional, because some people are in places where financially the finances are not the problem. Because we have seen a lot of people who are very well off, but the issue is that
the world,
is the emotional bit of it. So it is integral to the people around those people to provide emotional safety nets, to educate themselves and learn. Because when you learn a person, if I'm with you long enough, to some degree I can learn your patterns and get to know, okay, by the way Joseph has entered the house, that slouch on the couch, he had a bad day at work. Like, try to learn the person you're with, learn your man, and find a way you're going to help him navigate the emotional situations he's going through.
I'm going to bring camel milk. Today they're happy I'm going to bring goat milk.
So I believe it's not just for the woman. It's integral for all of us as a community to pay attention to the cues, because those kinds of income imbalances are going to always exist. The same thing for our parents, because there's nothing you're going to do to really help your parents when you're still a child financially. But all of you, even at home, even as children, you can contribute to an emotionally safe space for your parents. So I think each and every single person should take it upon themselves to know that the issue of mental health, even the young can help, like the young can help the old. Because interestingly, my mom says I tell her some things that really help her as a person. Because I took time to study my mom, and I can know at this point my mom is not happy. And somehow I'm going to find a way to minister to her emotional safety. I may not be probably the kind of giving her the financial aid that another person would have given her, but I'm going to have the wisdom on how to navigate her emotional space. And in the long run, that is going to contribute to her longevity than me getting probably $500 and something to give to her. So that is something everyone should know, because the problem with society, we have limited or zeroed down everything to the material. Yet the things that are really intrinsic and integral to the survival of humanity are the things that we cannot touch, the things that are intangible, the things that have to be administered from within us. So I believe each and every single person can minister to another in your workplace, your bosses as well. Like, you can just probably walk into your office and tell him you're a good boss, you're a terrific boss. That can change his whole day and reduce half of the tone of the stress that he had. Without you thinking you're going to probably do this and maneuver this way to make him happy. So I believe each and every single person should take that in heart, that it's not about just the physical things, that the wars we are having about money and the finances. That is not the real issue, because some people are okay financially but still suffering within. But how can I pour into another human when they desperately need it? And the other important question, how can I know that they need it? For you to, that is where the sensitization comes in. You get to know, okay, my boss, the way he's looking, he's now burnt out. So how can I pour into him? The way my daughter is looking, she's probably going through something at school, because that is not how she was. How do I emotionally pour into her? So I believe that is the important thing, not the gender wars that we are having.
I hear you. Maybe if we were to construct like an exercise, so like contrast and compare. I know that cultures are passed on from one generation to another by virtue of parenting or by virtue of just globalization. How was the former generation or former generations dealing with mental health, and what can we learn from them as the current generation? I don't think everything they used to do to deal with their mental health is ancient, is it?
Yeah. I think that the things that I had talked about, like from the former generation, one of the things that they really did have that we rarely have is the connectivity. Because you can even see when you go back to talk to your father, like knows that, like almost like their relatives, they know what is going on in their lives. These are what they used to have, that connectivity. And the other thing that I also used to see, even in terms of problems, these guys used to come together as community. Now, for me who grew up in a small village, I know that in case like a problem happens in someone's home, there's that sense of community that comes in. So I believe that is one of the most integral things that we are missing as a society, the key importance of connectivity. And I think the other thing that we lack in our society, also the vulnerability to accept that you need the connection. Because we are the problem with the society and the social media, it has zeroed down onto the me. You become center of everything. I am my God, I am my what, I am my everything. But you cannot navigate your life like that. You have to come to just a simple term of understanding. for me to be able to navigate or survive in this lifetime, there are things that I do need as a human. Some of the things that even the psychologists talk about, simple things as touches, like not the extreme kind of touch, like the soft, probably someone, you touching someone, or when you're talking to someone, to like the simple hand gestures, the simple things as hugs, also like a lot of things that can help bring people and ground them back to the normal. And the other thing that I believe our parents probably did so, but I also have a problem with something they did so bad that I'm going to have to talk about that. So for me, basically, it's basically the ability. And then the other thing that I believe they have better than us, Gen Z, is those guys had resilience. Because truthfully, some of them
we look like
went
we have
through
potato resilience.
very bad things.
Down.
But they had their resilience because they went through a lot of things that questioned or tested their character's integrity and livelihoods, but they were able to pull through. So it's something we can also admire from them. Those guys had a very unbreakable resilience. People came from nothing and became almost everything we wish we were like right now. So that is
that's
something.
Our struggle is to maintain the success.
Our struggle is even to maintain their successes and legacy. But you can understand someone came from probably Masaka with nothing to their name, and they came in the city and still made it. Like that kind of resilience and having, because that resilience comes from an inner hope that things can only get better.
The problem is that you haven't gotten rent for your apartment.
Yeah, things can only get better. But the problem with us, even the smallest things can easily break us down, and you feel like, okay, the world is crumbling down. You start screaming, oh my God, my life has ended. I no longer have somewhere to sleep. But I think that is something you can really admire from our parents, the fact that those guys always carried hope, regardless of the situation. Even when you talk to them, you're never going to hear them lament a lot about how badly they grew up. They're going to just tell you, oh, we took you to school because we knew it was going to make you guys better. We did this because for them, they still have that resilience and hope. So I believe it's something Gen Z can copy from that. The resilience, the connectivity, and the level of vulnerability that our mothers have. Because you find your mother has 10 friends, but when a problem happens, all the 10 friends are going to show up in an hour. And they're all in your house because she's vulnerable enough to share that. Right now, my child is very sick, I'm worried. All the 10 friends show up and come. But for us, you're going through something, even your immediate neighbor and so-called bestie or best friend.
If you'll have the strength to just tell them I'm having the problem.
Yeah,
right?
like just that strength to, you try. I know vulnerability is hard, but it's like a step to being free because you never know. Sometimes, I think even recently we had a conversation where I told you that you told me something and something was in my mind, so like it weighed so heavy. Yet through our conversation, you dispatched it in less than a minute. It had been overwhelming to me. So that connectivity and vulnerability, because for you it may seem overwhelming, but in Joseph's eyes, like, that is so simple. You just have to do A, B, C, and D, and then it's going to be solved. And you're going to be saved a whole lot.
I get you, and I think there's a lot to learn from the former generation. So, Michelle, as we come to the close of this podcast, maybe the people who want to follow the kind of content you put out there in your mental health advocacy, maybe you have to tell them where they find that content, but also any parting shots you would want to have for the audience. Yes,
I think the parting shots I would love to have for the audience, for the people that are going through the mental health crisis, there is always hope. That is the thing I can tell you. Because when you're going through the problem, you feel overwhelmed and feel like you can never make it through. There is always a way out and there is always hope. You just have to believe and have the faith that things can only get better from there. Then to the people around people you're not understanding, you're just blaming that child is a wayward child. This friend of mine is like bad-mannered. I believe or I pray that you take the time to even study about mental health, because some of the people you're having or pushing frivolous accusations are going through really hard times that they themselves also don't know. Because some people are bipolar and they don't even know that they are bipolar. Some people are almost borderline schizophrenic. They don't even know what schizophrenia is. Like a lot of things are so wrong. So before you cut off a person, because our generation is also so easy to cut off a person. This person did wrong to me, so I'll cut them off. Before you cut off a person, can you at least go and have a conversation? Because yesterday I was talking with someone.
Your disorder is called cut off disorder.
Cut off disorder. I was talking with someone and they gave me a scenario, a difficult scenario in my head. And then they asked me, what would you do? And the first answer I told them, when that kind of thing happens, I'll just go silent. Pretend like it didn't happen. He told me that is not the solution. By all means, you've left the problem festering on. So most of the things, instead of cutting off your friends or probably saying this kind of person is like hard to deal with, first try to have a heart-to-heart conversation with that person. You're going to be amazed what that can do and how much it can change a heart or save a soul. Because most of us, even when our friends like ghost us or get lost on us, we are easy to call them, how do they call them? Toxic friends, bad friends. But you've not even gone a measure to seek why has this person just disappeared out of the blue. So I think we ought to be intentional about relating with people. We ought to be intentional about really knowing what is going on, and to be intentional to really inquire when something is not going the way you expected. What is the problem? Because we are quick to always think, oh, the person probably hates me. You're not the center of the world, my dear. You're not the center of everything.
The world does not revolve around
you. Always have to put that. Now that's something I also learned. Like in case Joseph was supposed to talk yesterday and we don't talk, the first thing in my head, I taught myself that it's not because Joseph just doesn't keep his word. Probably Joseph has a problem. So in case I'm to even text you, I'm going to ask you, Joseph, we were supposed to talk yesterday, but you didn't call. Are you okay? Is everything fine? Because that removes things from you being the center and the other person being the person like central to the conversation. But if you begin everything with you, he didn't call me, oh my God, he's such a bad friend. We are going to continue losing a lot of people.
Cutting off people.
And in the process, people are going to die. And you're like, but I had last talked to him last week. But because he didn't answer your text, you cut off that person. Yes. Yet, if you had reached, you would have saved a life. So those are like my closing remarks. And above all, let's continue sensitizing people about depression and mental health problems. Because we cannot conquer a problem whose magnitude we do not know. And someone cannot solve a problem that they don't even know that they have. You first have to understand the kind of problem you have, the magnitude ahead. And then you also, the thing that the Bible says, you count your cost and get to know this is a kind of strength and willpower I need to navigate this. For the governments, we really pray that you add more resources to the mental health issue because it's an epidemic affecting almost every youth in the country and in the world at large. For those who want to find me and my work and advocacy in mental health, you're going to kindly follow me on my social media pages at Bisoboka, Ruth Michelle, or Queen Bisoboka, Ruth Michelle. And I also have a YouTube channel that I opened up, still in the same names, Bisoboka, Ruth Michelle. I'm planning to release more content to talk about the in-depth nuances of mental health because I didn't even touch the iceberg. A lot of things. Sure. Mommy issues, daddy issues, everything I'll talk about it. Just follow my pages.
Thank you so much. The Queen of Bugerere, right?
The Queen of Bugerere.
Thank you so much. And to our audience, we hope that you learned a lot about how you can personally understand mental health and how you can get out of the what do you call them, the dungeons of mental health in case you are there, and how you can help those who are in the same situation. Please follow all our content on all your favorite podcasting platforms, whether it's YouTube, Podbean, Boomplay, Spotify. Wherever you get your podcasts, we are there. And thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Policy Digest, a Center for Policy Analysis podcast that explores how African societies are governed and how people and their leaders are shaping the future of their communities. For more podcasts, check out our Podbean and YouTube platforms. Thank you.